2012 Olympic Games in London. Donate your stitch at teamusa.org.
When I was volunteering with Meals on Wheels for the first time, I didn't know what to expect. When the senior opens the door, they're always so grateful and so thankful. Overall, I had such a great experience, and it was such an easy way to give back to the community.
That was a heartwarming public service announcement highlighting the importance of Meals on Wheels, a non-profit service that began in the 1950s and provides food to cover 1 million senior citizens every day. So, with Congress back in session today, Republicans are eager to get straight to work on spending cuts targeting, you guessed it, Meals on Wheels. It is an attempt to protect the Pentagon from spending cuts that are due to come into force next January. Congresswoman Gwen is a Democrat from Wisconsin, and she joins us now. Good afternoon.
How are you, Martin?
Well, I'm delighted to have you with us. Meals on Wheels is part of the block grant provision that includes funding for transportation of the elderly and disabled, daycare, and, as I say, Meals on Wheels. Can you please explain to me why Republicans seem so determined to focus on the weakest and most vulnerable members of society when it comes to budget cuts?
Well, I can tell you this is a part of a continuing pattern of making sure that we protect not only defense, but tax breaks for corporations and for the wealthiest in our country. In order to avoid the sequester, the Republicans are ending this $1.7 billion social services block grant, which, by the way, was started under President Gerald Ford, a Republican. And Republicans claim that it is the duplication of services. But, of course, they also propose to end $33 billion in food stamps, which, of course, 43 million Americans rely on. They propose ending another, say, $30 billion on Medicaid, which many of our seniors who want to live have a dignified end-of-life experience in nursing homes depend on. And so that's an excellent question.
But you see, we've got over 8 million seniors. That's roughly 1 in 7. Facing the threat of hunger in 2010, according to the most reliable statistics. So Republicans would prefer that they lose their Meals on Wheels and forego the only human contact that many of these elderly folk receive, rather than stopping subsidies to massively successful oil companies. Have I got that right?
Well, let me just say to you, Martin, they have poll tested and talked to the public, and they have experts, and so they say that these social services programs that we're providing are providing that this social safety net has become a hammock. I mean, imagine an elderly person, 80 years old, sitting at home, waiting on a meal, being considered some lazy bum that's lying around in a hammock, or some elderly woman in a nursing home that's relying on Medicaid. I think that Americans really need to take a second look at these folk that we have put in office with their very, very Machiavellian view of quote-unquote, ending our deficit problem. You don't do it by returning our elderly hunger and poverty.
I want you to take a look at this video. This is your colleague, Republican Congressman Joe Barton of Texas, delivering Meals on Wheels with a camera crew in tow. So Mr. Barton will happily use the service for a photo opportunity when it suits him, but then he'll potentially vote to cut the service when it doesn't suit him?
Absolutely correctly. I think that one thing you can say about Republicans that they are very, very good at sticking together and staying in line with what their leadership has prescribed. I mean, they have decided that they want to hang their hats on the wealthiest in our country, and it seems to be paying off. Right here in Wisconsin, we have an election where millions upon millions of dollars are being provided by these corporations and wealthy people in order for Republicans to do their bidding. And in Congress, we see the same thing. The Supreme Court has provided a provision, as you know, under Citizens United, where they say corporations are people versus these elderly people that you need to protect. Certainly some 80-year-old woman who's waiting on a meal from Wheels on Meals does not have as much power as one of these great oil companies who could fund your campaign.
Right.
And I think they've taken a very cynical approach to governing.
Now, we should add that Mr. Barton, of course, we don't know which way he's going to vote, and we applaud him for supporting Meals on Wheels and providing that service. Let's hope that he continues to do so in the House.
Well, he's going to vote against it because it's going to come as a huge package, and he won't have to vote on the individual provision to end Wheels on Meals. And I can assure you they will give him the talking points to justify this to his constituents. They'll tell him things like, you know, we're saying that it's a duplication of service to provide meal to an elderly person. They'll say that these social safety net programs are socialism. They will give him talking points to try to get himself through his next election cycle.
Let's hope that he ignores those talking points. Congresswoman Gwen Moore from Wisconsin, thank you for joining us.